637, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Every Thursday, we talk business with Patrick Gremillion. He's the host of the Patty G Show, and he joins us now. What's happening, dude?
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, man. I'm doing super well today. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm could not be better this morning.
That's
you're laughing, and I know why you're laughing.
it's fantastic to hear, Brian. I'm glad you're doing super well. You
get hit by a team wheeler and walk away and see if you're not thankful.
Right.
Like
now
unscathed.
So now it's hit instead of sideswiped.
A connection was made. Contact was made.
All right.
Free throw line, take you 2 shots. I mean, that was. I wasn't shooting though, so we're 1-1. I was in the bonus for sure. We talk business every Thursday, and we talk a lot about diving in on entrepreneurship.
We do,
right?
Yes.
And I'm a big fan. I admire those who can take that leap. But I want to ask this question, and then we'll talk about a couple stories, and then we'll readdress the question.
Okay.
All right? Is now the time to be taking the dive into the entrepreneurship space? Is now the time to be, as Carrie Guglielmo, host of the brand, says, jumping off that cliff?
I think it honestly depends on where you're at in your life, from both an age perspective and a financial perspective. Meaning, few things here. So when the last recession happened, people that are within their mid to late 20s, early 30s weren't in the workforce. So they didn't have to experience going through that situation, right? Because they weren't a part of the workforce. They were like, what, 12, 15?
Sure. However old you were.
Yeah. Nice.
I was 10 in the last recession.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
right.
No. Get hit by an 18-wheeler and have to deal with being old. Awesome. Good.
So you have them in the workforce now with that looming over their heads. So it has not been of an experience in the past. Those that have been around, folks, much more advanced than you, Brian, in age. They may be in a position where they can take that leap knowing that the recession is coming, or just wait till it comes and then the market's down and they can get in what they want to get in.
Are you essentially saying that in order to, as an entrepreneur, in order to survive a recession, you have to have experienced the recession first?
I'm saying it helps.
Okay.
I'm saying it sure helps.
All right. Let's push pause on that. We'll come back to it because we do like to talk about workplace culture and that which goes on in the office. I forwarded you a story from, where was this from? CNBC.
Yes. 5
types of bosses can make work a nightmare. Here's how to deal with them. The first type of boss, the grinder boss. That's Grinder.
Thanks for spelling it out for us.
Well, if you lose that E, the whole game changes. A grinder boss, ER. A grinder boss works extremely hard and well, that changes too. A grinder boss works extremely hard and expects you to perform at that level, even if that's an unrealistic. Stop, guys. All right.
Yes, they have a level at which they operate. They expect everyone to meet that level.
Yes. The key to working with a grinder boss is openly discussing what they want you to achieve, whether on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, and creating a defined list of tasks that you can cross off as you go. Even if you can't complete every task in the amount of time they expect, showing them that you're working through the list is usually enough to pacify them.
So I think that is an excellent way to kind of work around that situation, getting a defined task list in place. Because most likely than not, that type of boss works off of what did you complete? What assignments did you complete? What metrics can we assign for what you actually had an output with?
Right.
So by doing that and having that conversation, whether it's utilizing a Slack channel, Microsoft Outlook channel for a task list, something that you can clearly itemize and check off as you complete will be a great way to have that communication openness within that boss's mindset.
The idea, though, that you can't run at your boss's speed,
so maybe having the task broken up into status, percentage of complete. So where they can say, well, I signed this to you 2 weeks ago. Why isn't it done yet? I would have had this done in a day.
Because I've done this, and this instead, or along with.
Exactly.
This is one of those ones where if you're in a rut at work, it always feels like whatever 10 things you're working on, if you got 10 things to work on and you knock out 9, the 10th one was the only one that mattered.
Oh, 100%. It's always Great. We expected you to get all 10 done. Why didn't you get all 10? I
Right.
don't care about the 9 you finished and successfully. The 10th one wasn't done. Therefore, you're terrible.
So Grinder Boss does not scare me. That's the level I want to play at. That's the kind of motivation I want on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
But-
It's also not for everybody.
Right. No, but it's also the most rewarding. Because while it could be exhausting, at the end of the day, you could say, look, there's a few things left on the table, but look what got knocked out every single day. And tomorrow, I know it's going to be just as rough, but I know I'm going to run at, if not at my boss's speed, close to it. He's not going to lap me for sure.
Look, I am for sure a task list kind of guy. I use the My Day platform within Outlook and have the tasks set up, and I can check them off. Love that, being able to check off tasks and keep moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
Same thing around the house. There's chores or there's projects. Got to write them down on a list and scratch them off. It's great to see incremental accomplishments.
Yes. The next type of boss, the ghost boss. A ghost boss takes an extreme hands-off approach, failing to keep track of their team's work and not being available when their team needs help. Recommendation here, regularly update your boss about your work and ask questions whenever you need help. If they don't respond, turn to another manager or a senior level employee on your team. Then keep a paper trail showing that you've been asking for their help and updating them. If your work gets criticized down the road, you can use that as proof that you were doing everything you could. The ghost boss is my nightmare scenario.
Those people exist, and that's why I have a wide breadth of my Outlook folders and why I save every form of communication. Because when they do come back and surface, you can always say, well, yeah, but this is the conversations we had. This is what I had said was happening. Here are the 6 emails I sent with no replies.
Right.
What do you want me to do with that?
Right.
You know? And I think they go on a little bit later in the article to talk about getting next level management involved, you know?
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely.
Or other same level managers or superiors involved saying, look, have you heard from them? I can't get a hold of them, and I really need help on this project. They're the only ones that can help me.
The problem with a ghost boss to me is it creates so much resentment because there is an appearance that they're not working.
They're not working. They don't care.
Oh, yeah.
You know, or they're the type of boss where they're outside in the parking lot with a flashy car, and the employee says, oh, that's fantastic. And goes, yep, worked just as hard as you did this year, and I'll be able to buy another one next year.
Right.
You know?
The level of resentment that creates, that is the boss that creates the entrepreneur.
That's how
because eventually you get so beaten down that you're thinking, what am I putting, like you said, work is hard and you'll buy me another one next year. No, I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to buy myself one. That's the boss that dismantles the workplace. It
definitely gets people thinking about entrepreneurship if they haven't before, or even just switching jobs.
Yeah.
You know, they then start cleaning up their resume, putting it out there on LinkedIn, doing hashtag open to work because they're not comfortable in the situation.
The next one up is called the narcissist boss. I'm looking up at the clock. We're going to have to pause here. We'll come back and dial in on the 3 remaining boss types. And then from there, we'll talk about a little bit about the toxic workplace culture that can evolve from it, and then wrap it up with, is now really the time to be branching out with a recession on the horizon, or the effects of the recession on the horizon, I should say. We're already in it. In the meanwhile, he's Patrick Gremillion. We talk business every Thursday. Hey, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, the conversation will continue through the break. If you're listening on air, we're about to take a break. We're going to check traffic. We will check your money now. Then we'll come back at it right after this. Don't forget, my entire life is brought to you by Complete Collision Center. 2 locations, Blake Road and Zachary, and the corner of Blue Bonnet and Perkins. Don't take the interstate to get there. 768-9898 is the phone number. Certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers. They have the iCar Gold Class certification, and I've basically moved in a bed over there because I'm just going to be there for the rest of my life. Go see Doug at Complete Collision Center.
When did they open up Brian Wing? Complete Collision. This bay is paid for by Brian Haldane.
There's dedicated benches. There's a dedicated bay.
I think at this point you at least have to have a bench or a coffee pot named after you. Something.
On the whole bay.
Yeah.
That's.
The comments were out of hand on the grinder boss.
I figured.
My bad.
They were out of hand. No. And then you said he wasn't gonna lap you. Do you know like how hard it was for me to sit back here and not say anything?
A grinder boss works extremely hard.
I really don't want to blow this interview.
Byron said he didn't want to blow the
To
interview.
bring your knee pads to the office, boss.
God, I hope I don't get in trouble for that.
Exhausting and rewarding. Grinder Boss isn't going to lap Brian.
So I guess oh shit, I just closed out the email.
The Ghost Grinder Boss is a thing. Yes. Never calls again.
Oh.
After the grind.
I thought I was just being really specific. I mean,
And the worst part was that thought never entered into my head until you said something. So I'd done the whole prep and reading. I'm like, all crystal clear up here. Nope. Brian drops an E and it all breaks loose.
just saying, that's like a legit, like, I don't want to leave any confusion for an audience that can't see it written out. If they
I don't
just
think
hear-
it was there.
Well, it was there.
I mean, was it there for you?
Like, was I like, oh, he's talking about the gay dating app?
Yeah. Was that, did that thought enter your head, Alondra?
No, it didn't. But it, like Grinder, immediately when I'm like grind, I think about working hard. You
Right.
know?
That's what I'm saying. That's where we both went.
Yeah, rise and grind. I get it. I
Rise and
understand
grind.
that. I understand that. But
Could have mixed meanings.
I don't like to have any mixed meaning.
I don't think you mix your meanings anymore.
That's like 4 seconds.
All right.
There we go.
Byron says there's also a sixth type. It's the OnlyFans boss. Only meets via video.
Put that one on a T for him. You're welcome.
It's also coincidentally, I got a notification this morning of Flynn's short video from his episode with us on
Yeah.
the show
Uh-huh.
with the clip that we labeled 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them proportionally.
Nice. Oh, sorry. Still got my workout in yesterday, even with the near-death experience. Right. Right. If you come back with DJ Khaled, because I'm out here grinding. That's all right. I'll do it next time. Well, next time, don't worry about it. Just let it go. It's fine.
Let it go. Let it go.
I didn't think of it until literally just now. All right, so I got to go back and change in hours 2 and 3 for the new traffic numbers. Okay. .652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Talking business with Patrick Gremillion, as we do every Thursday. We're talking about the 5 types of bosses that can make work a nightmare and how to deal with them. And this is going to tie into another topic that we threw out a little bit earlier. So we're up to boss number 3. Aside from the grinder boss and the ghost boss, we've got the narcissist boss.
Sounds like Super Mario levels.
Yeah, right? How many bosses do you have to go through to get to the princess? Narcissist bosses make decisions according to their own wants and needs and fail to consider the people around them at work. They also love flattery, which is the key to working with them. try complimenting one of their ideas to help you get on their good side. If you don't think their idea is a good one, then follow your compliment with a request for clarity, basically feeding their ego that they've got the expertise that you can't live without. Now, side note, that's not actually what a narcissist is, but we're just going to work with it.
Yeah, we're going to go with how they define it.
All right. So I don't know that I've had narcissist boss. I don't know that, like, how do they survive?
They get to the top quickly and they stay at the top based on doing what's best for them and pretty much build up a further resentment for people that have worked with them for a long time, and they have somehow done something to get ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
And then as the other people start coming up, they kind of deflect and push them away because it's not in their best interest unless bringing that person to the next level is. But what I like that article says in regards to how to combat them, not necessarily saying, oh my gosh, Brian, you've got the greatest idea ever. I love it. But saying, okay, that's interesting. I see where you're going. Can you elaborate a little bit more? You know, saying, okay, I hear you, understand what I hear where you're coming from, but let's dive a little deeper before I'm fully on board with what your idea is.
Whether you're fully on board or not, you can already be there. You just need to stroke their ego a little bit to get to make it like, oh yeah, you're the best ever.
It's like a hesitant stroking of the ego. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing, but I'm gonna need a little bit more before I can really be all in.
Okay. Wants to be your BFF boss?
Michael Scott.
Yep.
That's the first thing that came to my head. If you can think of a BFF boss, Michael Scott.
The last one here is the volcano boss. Starts out like a ghost boss, providing no direction for their team because they're simply not there to assess the work being done, but then they erupt at their employees when an assignment isn't up to their standards, even when their lack of leadership is to blame. This is the one that I legit do not see how they exist in today's workplace. They definitely exist. This is Nick Saban. Nick Saban puts in the work on the front end. But if you see him on the sideline, when you see him explode on the sideline, it's like, where does that get you? And in a corporate structure, where does that get you? I've never understood. And this is another one. I've never been motivated by being yelled at.
It instills a sense of fear. And if the job market is not where it is or where it was, where people could just leave and find a job, leave in the morning and be working at somewhere else that afternoon, it would kind of keep people on they would think it'd keep people on their toes because, they don't know when I'm going to blow up again or something. But it really just creates a very unhealthy and resentful staff that ultimately is going to lead to high turnover.
Yes, it is. Now, take those 5 boss types and then move over to this story that says 30 million U.S. workers think their workplace is toxic, and they give the 3 main factors. Factor number 1 would be toxic social norms.
So that is an interesting angle to look at, which I've actually spoken with somebody recently about. They were describing a situation at their work where there was an unhealthy sense of competition among the staff.
Okay.
Meaning it got to the point where people were looking through how many hours you were working and being like, oh, you only worked 85 hours the last pay period. What are you doing with your life? You know, it gets to that level of where they think they're building and fostering this level of competition among their peers. It really creates this unhealthy habit where people then start looking down on their peers because they think that they're somehow superior.
Toxic leadership would be number 2. This would be what we just covered with the 5 boss types.
Right.
And the third one is poorly designed jobs. I find this one interesting because we live in a world now where we've been through so many rounds of anytime you have a cutback or a reduction in force or going through the pandemic, how many companies culled to just narrow down to, we got to go down to the bare minimum of what it's going to take to survive. We got to triage and get rid of any, dead weight or whatever, leaving a number of just, I don't want to say transitional jobs, but you have to be more versatile now. And your job description is going to be poorly designed as well.
Yeah, your job description used to be able to be put into bullet points, lining out what your job's duties and responsibilities.
Right.
Now, I feel like since COVID, the last bullet point is always in helping in any other area we need.
Yes. We all have to be Taysom Hill at this point.
That's perfect. I got that reference, Brian.
Nice.
Yes, we do. We have to at some point be able to kind of take a step back and see what COVID has done to the workplace and the job role creation, where people were let go because they were trying to tighten down on the budgets and everybody had to step up. We're 2 years later, and people are still having to step up to fill those roles.
Okay, so whether we're talking about the poor leadership or the social norms, this falls into this category as well. Are any of these things long-term sustainable, or will they all come back to haunt the businesses that are allowing these three different, toxic workplaces to exist?
I don't think you can sustain a toxic workplace for very long. Whether it'll be 1 year, 5 years, or 20 years, at some point, people are either going to keep causing turnover at the company, in which point it's going to get very expensive to hire people and train people, and the company will go under from a financial standpoint, or people are going to start spreading the word about it on social media even more and more, and then no one's going to come work for you.
So bottom line it for me, and we got less than a minute to go. Bottom line it for me, if you are working with one of the bosses that gives you nightmares, or you're working in one of these toxic work environments, but you're looking at the rest of the job market right now and where the future, the next 6 months to a year of that job market is now the time to bail? Or should you, I don't want to say put your mental health in the backseat or your workplace satisfaction in the backseat, but bills have to get paid first.
Bills have to get paid, and keep in mind, a lot of big corporations keep a LIFO policy in place when it comes to hiring and firing, meaning last in, first out.
Yep.
Unless you've got a reason to not, you need to really consider.
Wow. Yeah. Don't jump ship now and become for last in.
Yeah.
You move to another job now, you are last in. I didn't even consider that angle. What's coming up on the show this week?
We have Niraj Vora.
Was that English?
The Stride Shop. He's an owner of the Stride Shop here in Baton Rouge.
No, I know all about this place.
It's pretty incredible if you're a runner.
The Patty G Show. Everywhere you get your podcast, and then the Saturdays on demand lineup right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Patrick, appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Brian.
Here comes CBS World News Roundup. This is the guy that measures your gait and your step and your plant and all that other good stuff?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's an out-of-network provider.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, I believe I've had him on the show. It's fantastic concept.
I wouldn't doubt it. He's incredible. Like, what they've got going on, their business model is pretty neat. Reminds me of the men's health clinic with Our Lady of the Lake with Chastain and Boudreaux.
I'm gonna get Curtis back on. I haven't talked to him in a while.
He's a hoot, man.
Chastain?
Yeah,
he's awesome.
They're
Crap! Yeah. Let me hop in. I'll get it. I am for your. Yeah. Shit.
Oh, well, I guess that'll be our new number.
It will be.
Excellent. Look, dude. Fix other people's mistakes.
All right, I'm gonna get out of your hair.
Well, it wasn't.
All right, bro.
See you, good sir.
Good segment. Yeah.